أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 110, Surah At-Taubah. Inna Allah ashtara. Indeed, Allah has purchased. From who? Min al-mu'minina, from the believers. What has He purchased from them? Anfusahum wa amwalahum. Their lives and their properties. And what is in exchange for them? بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. For that, they will have paradise. Inna Allah ashtara. Allah has purchased. Ishtara is from the root letters Shin, Ra, Ya. And ishtira is to buy and sell, to purchase something. To take one thing and give another in its place. When you buy and sell, what do you have to do? You pay the price and you receive something in return. Or you give something and you receive its price, depending on what you're doing, buying or selling. So basically, in ishtira, it is to take something in exchange for another. Over here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Allah has purchased, Allah has bought. Allah has made a transaction with. With who? Min al-mu'mineen, with the believers. He has made a transaction with the believers, in which He has taken something from the believers, and He has promised something in return to the believers. So what is it that He has taken from the believers? Anfusahum wa amwalahum. Their lives and their properties. And once He has taken their lives and their properties from them, what does it mean? They belong to Him. So in other words, the believers, they do with their lives what Allah is pleased with. They do with their wealth what Allah is pleased with. And what is it that Allah will give them in return for this? بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. That He will give them paradise in return for this. If you look at it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need to purchase anything from us. Because He is the one who gave our lives and our properties to us in the first place. So why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, Inna Allah ashtara? Allah is purchasing this from you? To just make us feel good. Like in Surah Al-Baqarah, we learned earlier that مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يُقْرِضُ اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا. Who will give to Allah a good loan? The fact is, Allah does not need a loan. He is the one who gave you your wealth in the first place. But why is it mentioned like that? So that whatever you give in the way of Allah, know that you will get something in return for it. Over here, we're being told that if we spend our lives and our wealth in the way of Allah, what does Allah promise us? Nothing less than Jannah. Nothing less than Jannah. Jannah is promised in return to the one who gives his life and his property to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hasan al-Basri, he said that Allah bought our lives, although He created them. And He bought our properties, although He bestowed them on us. He is the one who gave these to us in the first place. And look at His ihsan, His mercy, His generosity. That if we spend these in His way, He promises us more. He promises us Jannah. Two things Allah takes from us. Anfus and amwal. What does it mean by selling your life to Allah? That a person dedicates his life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He does in his life what Allah is pleased with. What does it mean by selling your wealth to Allah? That you dedicate your property for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You use yourself to serve the deen, and you use your wealth to serve the deen as well. And in return, بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةِ, Jannah is promised. And they dedicate their lives and wealth, the mu'mineen, to such an extent that يُقَاتِلُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, that they fight in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Qital is specifically used for battle. What is it used for? Battle in particular. The word jihad has not been used over here. What does jihad mean? Striving in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there are different ways. But qital is specifically battle. Why is this mentioned over here? Because this shows the extent to which these people fulfill their promise with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or they're required to fulfill their promise with Allah. That you dedicate your life and your wealth for the sake of Allah to such an extent that even if you have to go to battle, you do that. Before Islam, battles were fought to gain wealth, to get more land, to get a hold on more resources. But with Islam, what do we learn? That a person goes to battle only for one reason. Only for one reason. And what is that one reason? Fi sabilillah, in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when they fight in the way of Allah, then what happens? فَيَقْتُلُونَ, so they kill. وَيُقْتَلُونَ, and they also get killed. Some, they go to battle, they kill. Others, they go to battle, and what happens? They get killed. So in other words, they're willing to put their life in danger. Why? Because they have given their life to Allah already. Then there is no question about, oh, but this is my life. But this is my time. No. They've given it to Allah already. وَعْدًا عَلَيْهِ حَقًّا, and this is a promise upon him in truth. Meaning this is a promise that they will get Jannah in exchange for their services. And this is a promise alayhi, binding upon Allah. He will definitely fulfill this promise. Don't think that you give your life, you give your wealth in the way of Allah, and you will not get Jannah in return. This is a promise that is binding upon Allah. And this is not the first time that He's making a promise. It was made fit Tawrah, in the Torah, as well as wal Injil, and the Injil, wal Quran, and also in the Quran. This shows that every ummah, every nation was given this opportunity. That you give your life, you give your wealth to Allah, and in return you get Jannah. This is a promise of Allah. وَمَنْ أَوْفَى بِعَهْدِهِ, and who is more committed with his promise min Allah than Allah. Awfa is from the root letters wafa, wafa. And wafa is to fulfill. And awfa is more faithful, more fulfilling in promise. One who is more true to his word. Is there anyone who is more true to his promise than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? There is no one else but Him. So if you have made this deal with Allah, that you give your life and wealth to Him, you think He will not give Jannah to you in return? There is no one who is more true to His promise than Him. فَاسْتَبْشِرُوا, so be happy, rejoice, be glad. Over what? بِبَيْعِكُمْ, with your bargain. Bay' is from the root letters ba, ya, ayn. Because of this bargain, because of this business, الَّذِي بَايَعْتُمْ بِهِ, which you have concluded with Him. Be happy for this transaction that you've just made with Allah. وَذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ, and that is the greatest success. What is the greatest success? Getting Jannah. Being promised Jannah. That is the greatest success. The reality is that entry into Jannah is not for free. A person cannot enter into Jannah for free, without paying the price. You have to pay the price. Anywhere you go in this world, the better the places, the higher the prices. There are some hotels in which you have to pay so that you can just go and see what's in there. Not so that you can go live there, you can stay there, just so that you can go see. Why? Because the better the place, the higher the price. And we think that Jannah, in which tajri min tahtiha al-anhar, it is for free. Entry and residence into Jannah is free. No. It's very expensive. And the only price for Jannah is what? Your life and your wealth. That is the price that you have to pay to get Jannah. What? Your life and your wealth. And if you think of it, a person's own life and a person's own wealth is most beloved to him. We learn, وَإِنَّهُ لِحُبِّ الْخَيْرِ لَشَدِيدٌ. The human being, he is very intense in his love for his wealth. When a person becomes a believer, in reality, what is he doing? He is selling himself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which means that now his entire life is going to be dedicated for the cause of deen. Now his entire life is going to be dedicated for what? For the cause of deen. Not for the cause of a career, for a business, but for the cause of deen. And deen becomes his personal matter. It doesn't just mean that a person is performing 5 daily prayers and he's fasting in the month of Ramadan. But it means that he takes the deen as his personal affair, personal matter. That he looks out for the deen. He looks after the deen just as he looks after his own self. Just as he looks after his own children. It becomes his personal affair. He serves the deen. He promotes the deen. He defends the deen. Just as he defends his own children. Just as he supports and looks after his own children, his own personal needs. If you look at it from morning to evening, we do many things. Many personal chores. And do we ever consider them as a favor on other people? For example, you woke up in the morning, you had breakfast. Do you go tell your mother, look, I had breakfast. I've done a huge favor on you. Is that a huge favor on your mother? No. Who is it a huge favor on? On yourself. Similarly, when a person has sold himself to Allah, and when he serves the deen, he does not consider it to be a favor on others. He does not consider it to be a favor on others. He is only doing himself a favor. He takes it at a personal level. And if you look at it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says over here, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى. Allah has purchased. He has already purchased. When you purchase something, when does it become your property? When does it become your property? When you have fully paid its price. And when you have it in your hand. Over here, Allah is purchasing our lives and our wealth. And in return, what is He giving to us? Jannah. So if we want Jannah, then what do we have to do? Can we pay half price? Can we pay almost full price? Can we delay the price? Can we say, no, we don't want to pay any price. We should just get it for free? It's not going to work like that. If you want to enter Jannah, you have to pay the price for it. You have to pay the price for it. And if you purchase something that is of a very high quality, then the price of that is also great. Sometimes we see that there are people who want to buy a very huge house. Do they pay only a few $100,000? Sometimes they pay millions. Sometimes they will pay more than $500,000. Why? Because they want to get a bigger house, a better house. Then why is it that when it comes to Jannah, we think, without paying the price, we can get Jannah? Similarly, if you look at it, the bigger house you want in dunya, the more you want to decorate it, what do you have to do? The more money you have to have. Where will you get that money from? By working. For some people, working a 9-to-5 job is sufficient. They can pay off their house with that job. But for some people, they have to work 9 to 5, They have to work weekends. They have to work double shifts. They have to work on holidays. They have to work in the summer as well. Why? Because the price of that house is more. Similarly, the price of Jannah is also a lot. And taking deen part-time is not going to suffice. We have to spend our life and our wealth entirely. Then Jannah becomes ours. Then we have a right. Then we can claim. Because if you look at it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He has purchased from them not a part of their lives, not a part of their properties, but it's all of it. Because a part-time work, part-time pay is not sufficient. It's not going to be enough. The higher your goal is, the higher your target is, the more you have to pay for it. Similarly, if your goal is Jannah, then learning the Quran once, spending a year and a half is not sufficient. Saving it for old age is not sufficient. Saving it for the weekends is not sufficient. Saving it for the mornings alone is not sufficient. It has to be an entire lifestyle. An entire lifestyle. Only then does a person have a share in Jannah. The Prophet ﷺ said, أَلَا إِنَّ سِلْعَةَ اللَّهِ غَالِيَةٌ أَلَا إِنَّ سِلْعَةَ اللَّهِ الْجَنَّةِ. Indeed, the price of Allah is expensive. Meaning the bargain that you're doing with Allah, it's very expensive. It's very precious. And what is it? It is paradise. It is Jannah. So if you want to get Jannah, you have to pay a big price. And how will you pay that? Through your life and also through your wealth. So, it's up to you. How big of a house, how big of a share of Jannah do you want? Because every person will get a share in Jannah depending on his deeds. Because there are many levels in Jannah. So to attain high ranks, you have to struggle even harder. You have to put in much more effort. If you relate this with the previous ayat where we learned the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ridwan being the basis of a person's deeds. If they are the basis, if they are the foundation, then what's going to happen? Working to achieve this goal is going to become easier. Al-Hasan al-Basri, he said that Allah granted you dunya so that you might give some part of it to purchase Jannah. Allah has not given you this dunya so that you keep purchasing dunya and just enjoying dunya. He has given it to you so that you can spend it to earn Jannah. And over here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He has purchased from the believers what? Their lives as well as their properties. If you look at it, striving with your properties or giving your property to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not only mean that you put some money in the donation box. It doesn't just mean that. Sometimes it means leaving a job to learn the deen. Really. Sometimes it means going part-time from full-time. Why? To learn the deen, to spread the deen. Sometimes it means that a person becomes satisfied with less in dunya so that he can attain a higher rank in the hereafter. Because many times what happens? We don't want to compromise in dunya. We don't want to. We don't want to make less money. We don't want to have a less of a career, a less of a status in the society. Why? Because we don't want to compromise at all. But if you have given your wealth to Allah, what does it mean? You will sacrifice this wealth now to get a higher rank in the hereafter. So sometimes it means spending the money. Sometimes it means giving it up. Partly or completely. Because your priority is now the deen. That is your priority. And you will give up anything to get that. At Laylatul Aqaba, the Ansar, they took an oath of allegiance with the Prophet ﷺ. And according to many, these ayat are with regards to that pledge, the Bay'ah of Aqaba. And this was a pact that was specifically between the people, meaning the Ansar, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They made this Bay'ah with who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the clause of that Bay'ah was that they would not associate any partners with Allah. They would not associate any partners with Allah. They would not commit theft. They would not fornicate. They would not kill their children. They would not insult others. Nor would they disobey the Prophet ﷺ when he instructed them to do good. And whoever fulfilled this pledge, what would he receive? Jannah. So they also made a bay'ah. But it was not just limited to them. Because over here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Al-Mu'mineen, Allah has purchased from the believers. And if you look at it, the Ansar, they truly spent their lives and their wealth for the sake of who? For the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They gave them to Allah. They dedicated them completely to Allah. Look at how they went to the book. Look at how they went to the book. How much effort they had to put in, physical as well as financial. They had to spend a lot. They had to put in a lot. But they did it. Why? Because they were taking in exchange from Allah, Jannah. And they knew that the price of Jannah is not cheap. It's expensive. And if they wanted Jannah, they had to give something. They had to give something. Just like in dunya. If you want to become a doctor, if you want to become an engineer, if you want to go to an Ivy League school, for example, what do you have to do? Can you just casually go through high school? Can you? No. People who are serious about their studies, about their careers, they don't waste their time. They don't waste their time at all. They put in a lot of effort in studying, in doing extra study even. They don't take it as a burden. They don't take it as a chore. Because for them, they have a goal in front of them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has purchased the lives as well as the properties of the believers. And with regards to selling your life to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah has made a promise to the person who goes out to fight in His cause. And nothing compels him to do so except jihad in my cause and belief in my messengers. He will either be admitted to paradise if he dies, or compensated by Allah. Either with a reward or booty, if He returns him to the home which he departed from. So what is the reward for the one who goes out in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Either it is Jannah, or it is booty, or it is going back home safe. Depending on what happens to the person. But now, these days, especially for women, what do we have to do? How can we give our lives to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? By serving the deen. By learning the deen and by spreading the deen. Because when we will do that, especially for women, they really have to sacrifice their lives. You have to sacrifice your personal time, especially if before starting this work you had some time in the evenings to yourselves when your children were busy and your husband was busy. You had some time to yourself. That some time to yourself is gone. Why? Because now where is it going? For the deen, for learning the lesson, for reciting your tajweed, improving your tajweed, doing your homework. Always consider this as something that you're giving in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that you can get Jannah in return. And when you will do that, it will become much easier. You will not consider it to be a burden then, that these people have no mercy. And they don't realize we also have families, we also have children. You will take this as a personal thing. Why? Because this is a deal that you're making with Allah. That, oh Allah, I am going to learn your deen and spread your deen. And in return, I want Jannah. This is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَعْدًا عَلَيْهِ حَقًّا. This is a promise that is binding upon Him. It's haqqan. He will definitely fulfill it. And it was made fit Tawrat wal Injil wal Quran. This is not the first time that Allah is making this promise with the people, that if you give me your life and wealth, you will get Jannah in return. For example, we learn that in the First Testament, the Torah, in Deuteronomy, it has been said that, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might." All your heart, all your soul, all your might. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart. So basically, even they were told that they must give everything of theirs in the way of Allah. Similarly, in the Second Testament, in Injil, Matthew, it has been said that in everyone who has left houses, or brothers, or sisters, or father, or mother, or children, or fields, for my sake, will receive 100 times as much and will inherit eternal life. The one who goes out in the way of God, leaving his family behind, because أنفسهم وأموالهم, then what will he get? He will get 100 times as much, and he will also inherit eternal life. Where? In paradise. So it's not just that this promise is being made with us, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made similar promises with who? With the previous ummah as well. And if you look at it, if you just compare your activities with those of the Christians, for example, how much they are giving up just to spread their religion. How much of their time, how much of their personal lives, how much of their money are they giving up just to spread Christianity? There are people who are very successful in the worldly sense, but what will they do? They will leave everything behind. They will go to places in Africa. They will go around the world in a ship, in a boat, distributing Bibles. That's what they will do. Why? Just to spread the religion. We are very proud of the fact that we have the truth, that we are the ones on the truth. But perhaps there is a lack of yaqeen. There is a lack of certainty, of conviction, because we are not doing as much as these people are doing. If we really believed that when we work for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we give our lives, and in return is Jannah, then our actions would be much more. They would be much more intense. When a person does something for the sake of Allah, when he dedicates his wealth, his life, then his actions are more lasting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts barakah in them as well. Anytime you're making a deal with someone, anytime you're signing a contract, there's always that fear in your heart. What if I suffer a loss? What if this happens? What if that happens? Which is why people have insurance and they have guarantees and they have lawyers and Allahu A'lam what all, just to ensure that they don't suffer any harm. But if you look at it, this deal is being made with who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah assures us, وَمَنْ أَوْفَى بِعَهْدِهِ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَمَنْ أَصْدَقُ مِنَ اللَّهِ قِيلًا وَمَنْ أَصْدَقُ مِنَ اللَّهِ حَدِيثًا. If you look at it, the process of a business transaction, what do you need in it? First of all, you need a buyer and a seller. If you have something to sell, but there is no one to buy it, what can you do with what you have? Nothing. It's just going to waste away. It's going to deteriorate. It's going to become a burden on you. You want to give your life, your wealth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there. He's ready to buy it from you. He's ready to take it from you. And both need to also agree to the transaction. Isn't it so? Even if one disagrees, the transaction won't go through. Both need to agree. And before the items are exchanged, are they inspected? Are they checked? Like for example, if somebody says, here, you buy my house, I will sell it to you for 500,000. Will you just go and take it as it is? No, you're going to go check. You're going to have someone come and inspect it fully. And you're going to check the reports. Is everything okay? There's nothing wrong with the water. There's nothing wrong with the pipes, with the electricity, so on and so forth. And when you are 100% sure, then you will take it. But aren't you going to test it first? Aren't you going to inspect it? You are going to inspect it. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts us through tests as well. When we say, "Oh Allah, I will give my life to you. I will give my wealth to you." Then what happens? Allah tests us. What do we learn in Surah Al-Ankabut, ayah 2 to 3? أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Do the people think that they will be left just because they say we believe and they will not be tested? Of course they will be tested. Allah will definitely test us. So never think that just because we have said, "Allah, we are dedicating our lives, our properties to you, therefore our life should become easy now." No, it's only going to become a bit more difficult. Also we see that the process of a business transaction, it includes that after a person has sold his item, he no longer has authority over it. If you've sold your house to someone, you cannot go a week after and say, "Let me into my house. It used to be mine." You can't do that. It's not yours anymore. If they want to renovate the house, if they want to change it a little bit, you can't go and stop them. You cannot go and say to them, "My grandfather got this house constructed. You cannot touch it. You cannot change it." No, because it does not belong to you anymore. Similarly, once we have given our lives to Allah, what does it mean? That it's not going to be our choice anymore. It's not going to be our choice anymore with regards to what we do with ourselves. It's going to be the will of Allah, the command of Allah. So it cannot be that we say, "Oh Allah, I'm giving my life to you, I want Jannah in return. However, this command of yours, I can't do this. I can't accept it." No. Once you've given yourself to Allah, that means that everything that you will do will comply with what? The directives that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. And if you don't do that, then what's going to happen? The deal is going to be null and void. It's not going to go through. If you don't fulfill the conditions, if you don't fulfill all of the clauses, what's going to happen? It's not going to get through. If you tell the person who's buying your house, "You can buy the house, pay me the price, but also give me the keys. Let me have a share in it. Let me come and stay there just once a week. Just once a month." Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense. Whose house is it? Yours or theirs? It's not clear then. And if you force it, they're going to say, "Fine, keep your house, I'm not buying it." If you're so attached to it, don't sell it. I'm not going to buy it. Similarly, if we have said that, "Oh Allah, we're giving our lives, in exchange we want Jannah," then we have to follow all of the commands. We cannot say, "But this is not fair, and this is too difficult, and this I cannot do, at least I'm doing this much." No. "Udkhulu fi silmi kaffa." Enter into Islam completely, not partially, wholeheartedly. Do everything that Allah is telling you to do. And the fact is that we have to realize that our lives, they're not cheap. They're not cheap at all. So we should not be satisfied with anything that is less than Jannah. This life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us is only given to us once in this dunya. So we should understand its value. It's the most valuable thing that we have. Anything else we have in this dunya, it can be replaced. Can it be? Anything else in this dunya, it can be replaced. There can be some substitute to it. If a person loses a friend, there are other people to console him. If a person loses parents, then there are other friends, other family members to look after him, to take care of him. However, if a person loses his life, then he can never get it back. This life is very precious, so we should not settle with something less than Jannah. We should never settle with the pleasure of this dunya. Because our life is much more expensive. We can buy much more with this life compared to dunya. Like for example, if a person is given $1,000 and he says, I'm going to go buy 1,000 chocolate bars. What are you going to say? That's ridiculous. Invest that money, buy something that's really good, that's really going to benefit you. Why are you wasting it away on just stuff that you're going to eat and just harm yourself more with? Each and every one of us has been given a life. And we have been given an opportunity to make this trade with Allah. It's up to us. What do we want to settle with? Is it something with this dunya? Or is it Jannah? But remember the value of your life. Don't make it that cheap. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is offering you Jannah in return for your life. Ja'far al-Sadiq, he said, أُسَامِنُ بِالنَّفْسِ النَّفِيسَةِ رَبَّهَا وَلَيْسَ لَهَا فِي الْخَلْقِ كُلِّهِمْ سَمَنُ. I make this deal, or I sell my soul to who? To its Lord. I sell my soul to its Lord. And there is no equivalent in the creation of what? Of my soul. In the sense that there is nothing else in this dunya that can pay the price of my soul. It's only Allah who can give me something as the price of my soul if I give it to Him. بِهَا تَمْلِكُ الْأُخْرَى فَإِنْ أَنَا بِعْتُهَا بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الدُّنْيَا فَذَاكَ هُوَ الْغَبَنُ. It is a valuable item with which paradise can be bought, with which the hereafter can be purchased, with which the hereafter can be owned. And if I sell it for less, then indeed that is a great loss. This life is so precious that if I give it to Allah, I can earn the hereafter. And if I sell it for something less than the hereafter, that would be a great loss. It would be ghaban. It would be a great loss. Why? Because لَإِنْ ذَهَبَتْ نَفْسِي بِدُنْيَا أُصِيبُهَا لَقَدْ ذَهَبَتْ نَفْسِي وَقَدْ ذَهَبَ الثَّمَنُ. If I waste my life in acquiring this world, then what's going to happen? I have wasted my life and I have also wasted the price. Because at the end of the day, I am going to die, and whatever I have acquired of this dunya is also going to be left behind. However, if I invest my life for the hereafter, then what's going to happen? I'm not just going to benefit from this dunya, from this life, but I'm also going to benefit from the hereafter. And if I waste it in this dunya, then eventually I'm going to lose my life, and I'm also going to lose this dunya. So we have to be careful. This life that Allah has given to us, it's precious, it's valuable. Don't waste it in dunya. Use it to invest in the hereafter. Sell it to Allah so that you can get Jannah.